Hello guys, this is IFO Junior Edition, and the studio is here for you every Wednesday and Saturday. So today is Saturday. As usual, this is the day of discussions with the expert, a fun talk, and also a presentation of our guest as well. I started learning English since I was 6 years old, but until about 3 years ago when I first traveled and also I had an opportunity to travel to different places in the world, did I realize and fully be aware of the concept multicultural, which definitely shaped who I am today, appreciating the diversity of cultures and of the world. So who is better at talking about this topic than an expert, our dear expert, who has appeared on the show multiple times as an expert and also thousands of times as the host. Please welcome our lovely, beautiful, smart lady, chị Phoebe-chan.
I love this topic. I'm so happy to talk about it. Hi.
Yes, hi. How are you, Phoebe?
I am good. You know, during this day and age, this time, we have to all stay strong.
That's right. And I always feel physically and mentally stronger when I'm next to you.
Oh, thank you. That's a blessing to be able to do that to you.
All right, so let's dive into the topic right away. Some of the audience might not know that our host Phoebe had spent years living and working and learning abroad. And you came back to Vietnam in 2012, right? First question I'm going to pose is, what is multicultural environment?
I think a multicultural environment is an environment that encompasses people from all different backgrounds, right? It can be an environment where, you know, you're from the city and you're also from the countryside and you live together. It can also be, you know, people of different nationalities, different cultures, different religions and upbringing, all living together in one society and to be able to speak to each other and enjoy each other's cultures.
Such diversity.
Yes.
So how long has been this concept around?
I think it's definitely been around in the New World, right? You know, ever since at the end of, you know, World War II, where you see a lot of immigration happening all around the world, and that concept, you know, came into place. Yeah. But I think in Vietnam, you know, even though we're only starting to become international recently, we can still apply the concept of multiculturalism within our own country, even with all of our Vietnamese people, right? Because, you know, I can be a person who's living in the South and enjoy bánh giò from the North, etc.
Of course, like Vietnam is such a diversity because we have 54 ethnic minorities, which could already make up a lot of, you know, ethnics, religions, and races.
Oh, you've done your homework, or you're a studious girl. That's why, you know, 54 ethnic minorities. How many provinces and cities do we have?
63.
What's our Vietnam population?
Almost 90, more than 90 million, I believe. No, guys, just do more research. I'm not really sure about the exact number. So you were abroad for so many years, but I wouldn't call you an overseas Vietnamese, like Việt Kiều. Yeah, because
Absolutely.
you are 100% Vietnamese spirit. You still retain the spirit of a Vietnamese woman, and you still do a lot of things for the homeland. So how could you retain that traditions of our country while being immersed in so many cultures?
Well, thank you. That's a big compliment. Thank you very much. One of the things I think really that's related to discovering the Vietnamese identity or rediscovering the Vietnamese identity is to, if you don't have it yet, to temporarily experience others and then you come back to your roots, right? Also to find opportunities within this country. To be very honest with you, when I was growing up, you know, I didn't want to appear Vietnamese because it was uncool. And this was in the 90s, you know, early, mid-90s. And, you know, we didn't speak the same language. We ate funny food at that point in time. And, you know, fish sauce at that point in time didn't smell good. And so all of those, I think, experiences, you know, young children should be allowed to voice what they don't like about individual cultures, even their own cultures. because they're going to go through a trajectory of learning other cultures and then eventually appreciating the beautiful things about their own culture. And I learned that while living in Vietnam.
Wow. So what is something that you don't really like about our culture and something that you really love about that?
One of the things that I guess, that I like less about our culture is probably how people don't set the highest standards for themselves. Right?
Not really confident sometimes.
Good enough. We have some of us, we have a good enough mentality. Don't stress out too much, just do this much because that's good enough.
Oh, okay.
And I think, a good enough mentality is only going to propel our society to a good enough level.
Yeah.
And, we have many years to catch up with the modern world, but I do see that we're catching up very quickly, so that's a good thing. Now, one of the things that I love about Vietnam is the fact that people are so creative and flexible.
That's right. And I feel like our people are really hardworking as well.
Yes.
And once we have the goal, we are so determined to achieve that goal.
Yes, for sure.
So when we move to another country, it is undeniable that we need to appreciate and respect those cultures and different cultures within that country. But a lot of people, a school of thoughts believe that it is sometimes necessary to lower down the ego a little bit and trivialize the traditional cultures of our own. So what do you think about that?
That's a good question, actually. That's a really good question. I believe ego should not exist anywhere in our life.
Yeah.
It's the most idealistic situation, but I think ego destroys a lot of things. Yes. It destroys our thought process. It destroys sometimes our connection with people. So I don't think ego should come in place. Whether it's about ego or culture, I really think, it's appreciating what's around you. Learn to appreciate the environment that you live with. Where we come from, what's our background. I think that's just one element of it. I don't want to have to force everybody to appreciate where they came from, but the story of where they came from is always a beautiful story, regardless of who you are.
How could everyone realize that? Because some people will say that, oh, I don't think that for instance, I am living in a foreign country and I don't think that the culture or my homeland is beautiful or that as beautiful as the country that I'm living in is more modern and developed. So how could everyone really appreciate the beauty and the roots of the country land?
No, I would say, speak to the people that appreciate that culture.
Yes.
I would say, do research on the culture.
That's right.
Because the good thing is not just about, it's so developed, everything is so clean, everything is so structured and efficient. That might not necessarily be basically the standard of what is good.
Yes.
Right? Vietnam, for example, has a long tradition and history of conquering great wars. There are monuments that tell you the history of our country. We've always had women warriors and women leaders. Those are some really interesting things too. So at the end of the day, perception is always subjective. And in order for somebody to appreciate a certain culture, I would say do research. Speak to people who appreciate it and be open-minded, because appreciation doesn't always have to come with perfection.
Yes. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Welcome back. I'm so excited to continue the talk with you about multiculturalism. So we just talked about stereotypes, and the situation of stereotype in Vietnam is getting better. So what do you think are the factors that contribute to that?
I think the biggest factor, I would say, lack of experience in experiencing other people's cultures, and the lack of basically the ability to sit down and have a human-to-human conversation with people from other cultures. And I think, with experience, be it experiencing their food, be it experiencing, their stories, their history, and speaking to them, to realize that they are just like you and me. They are humans, they are smart, they are driven, they have their own ambition, they care about the same things that we do. All of those factors can definitely help to bridge the stereotype gap.
So when we talk about multiculturalism, multicultural environment, is not only about among the nations and the nations, it's also about the places and the places within the country. Especially our country is such a multicultural country. So what should we do to not really adapt, but to really make the most out of it and to become a well-rounded and well-behaved citizens and people?
I would say put our judgments at home. Go into every conversation and every person that we meet with an open mind, with the open heart to discuss and learn their story. Because all the stories I've seen, you know, from everywhere around Vietnam, everybody has an interesting story to tell.
Yes.
And definitely, you know, to be open to experiencing some of these things. You know, every one of us has our own judgment, but we don't always have to bring that judgment to the discussion table. Right? And we don't necessarily need to bring that judgment to discuss in private either. Okay, so I would say take away the judgment, you know, and go in with an open mind and speak to people.
Be curious.
Be curious, yes.
Curiosity is really good for learning and appreciating other cultures as well. So what are the essential skills in the working and learning in multicultural environment?
Always communicate. Always be professional. Always try to listen to somebody's background and why they think that way. Because I remember this really interesting story. You know, there was this person whom I used to work with.
Yes.
And the person is from a place that's in the countryside. And the person would always literally, you know, sleep during lunchtime. Right? And at that point in time, you know, we'd be like, why do you sleep during lunchtime? That's so uncool. You know, international companies don't sleep during lunchtime. And then in a very kiddishly way, we try to get her not to sleep during lunchtime. But nowadays, looking back, right, that's a little bit insensitive.
Yes.
And then you know what she did? She was actually a great example of somebody who's trying to incorporate multiculturalism in her living style.
Okay, let's talk about the myth that we have today, the Mythbusters session. We can learn how to cultivate a well-rounded personal identity through others and time. What do you think about this?
I think there's a lot of truth to this. I think there's a lot of truth to this. And others here, it's not just the people you meet. It's the mind of the people that you get to read or listen to or watch, right? That inspire you. And time for sure. We all grow better with time, right? We all marinate like a good steak, a good dry-aged steak. So I see a lot of truth to this. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think I can side with this statement. Do you have any counter-arguments? I think it needs to have more. I mean, through others and time, but also through experiences.
Yes.
When you travel to different places and when you are curious about other places and you have, like, you dare to go to that places and also travel and enjoy.
Yeah, I think maybe one counter argument that people might say, even though I don't agree with it too much, is that they might say, oh, we can only grow as ourselves. You know, we have to depend on ourselves and not depend on others. In a way, that's true, but still, you know, the external factors are always going to be things that's going to help us grow. Yeah. So others in time will help us grow as human beings.
So we are young people and a lot of audience are super young and they're watching the show. So they would have the question, which is, how could we grow up appreciating others and also retaining our personal identity?
I think we can. I think it's not mutually exclusive. You know, our personal identity and other people's identity and incorporating what we think is good, I think it's not mutually exclusive from our personal identity. Yes. You know, so I think we can definitely do so. Sometimes copying is fun. If we see somebody that we really admire, we see somebody that inspires us and we want to do things that they do, I think that is part of learning. You know, I don't think we're losing our identity in that instance, but we're actually growing.
Just like me mimicking some accents of some languages.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, I have good Vietnamese though. So there are a lot of ways to do that, to appreciate other cultures and retaining the personal identity and our indigenous culture.
Yes.
Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Phoebe.
Well,
So,
one thing I really want to mention as well, right? Because when it comes to multiculturalism, you know, yes, it's about nationality, yes, it's about location, but I also think it's about, you know, gender identity, it's about, you know, beliefs, it's about religion, it's about
racist.
Everything that's present that makes each one of us unique and different. Yeah,
so individuality.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a very brilliant point that needs to be conveyed in the show as well.
Exactly.
Welcome back to the studio, and this is Voice of the Week. And in Voice of the Week, we have a lot of younger people who are super talented. And please take a look at the screen to see who the guest today is.
Hello, how are you doing? My name's Ling, and let me tell you some things about myself. I just turned 14 in May, so please don't mistake me with a 6th grader. I'm a freshman, shockingly. I also have a love-hate relationship with procrastinating, but if someone asks me, Ling, what's your hobby? I tell them, I'm keen on baking and cooking. I also aspire to become an honest, hardworking, and successful business person, just like my mom and my dad.
Please welcome Ling.
Hello.
So how do you feel?
I feel a bit nervous, but it's an honor to be here on this show and talk to you guys.
So how long did it take you to prepare for the prompt?
I took 1 day to prepare my 3-minute speech, and also another day to prepare what I'm gonna say to you guys.
So we are curious about the presentation. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Up you go. Okay, so the prompt is,
Does money make the world go round?
are you ready? Get set, go.
If you were to choose between $1 million and a nice house, which one will you pick? My guess is that most of you would choose the huge fortune over the nice house. Because with such a large amount of money, you can buy several nice houses and still have some money left to spend it on whatever you want. If money can get you so many things, does it make the world go round? My answer for it is yes. Money is undeniably crucial to the extent that ordinary events could not happen without it. Many things we need in our daily lives come with a price, quite literally. Essential needs like food, water, and electricity are not free. And we need to pay for our groceries and our phone bills too. And how do we pay them? With money, of course. Now, you may ask, but money can't buy happiness. In many ways, it can. Imagine yourself traveling to places all over the world, eating at fancy restaurants, hanging out with your friends, and just overall living your best lives. Would that be possible without money? That is one of many ways that money can buy you happiness. We often consider being wealthy as being happy because having a lot of money means that you can do almost anything. However, as one once said, money is not the root to all evil. That's like saying the guns themselves kill people. It depends on the ones who have possession over it. Money can't buy everything, but people would do anything for money. While it is so great, many of us spend too much time generating our incomes instead of focusing or caring about other equally important aspects in life. Like my cousins whose parents didn't spend enough time with them when they were teenagers. Their parents would often go on business trips or work night shifts and not being able to communicate or spend enough time with them. When my cousins tell me about their stories from their childhood, they would at times talk about how sad or lonely it made them feel when their parents weren't around enough. That is one example of how the constant pursuit of money can affect ours and others' lives as well. Money is not evil, but the greed that it possesses us can make us go evil. That's why money can be so scary and wicked. Therefore, it is important to know what we can do to use money for other aspects in life as well. Thank you.
Very nice. You did a great job, don't worry. Okay. Do you have any follow-up questions?
Yes, I do. You mentioned some really, really interesting concepts in there. Would you buy a house or would you have $1 million? I would disagree. I would have $1 million. No, I would buy a house because some houses cost $30 million.
Yes, I do agree with you, but if we exchange $1 million to Vietnamese dong, 23 billions, you can buy nice houses, more than one nice houses, nice furniture, good food, go on trips as well, because that's a large amount of money. Or it's just that I'm 14 and I don't know anything about money. Because I don't make money.
Well, so my question is, you know, in this question, it talks about money, right? So tell me how you understood it.
Personally, yes, I think it's better to have more resources because to be able to trade things, your partner might want something other than just cash, money, or just gold. So yes, I do think that it is better to have many resources to be able to create opportunities to trade things.
Okay, well, good attempt, Ling. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, good. Okay, you want some comments?
Yes.
You want some comments? Okay. So first of all, great try there. Okay. You know, you still attempted to answer the question, and sometimes it's not always the question that you've prepared for. So today I'm going to give you a tip as to what you can do to deal with things that just basically catch you off guard.
Yes.
And also things you don't understand, right?
Yes.
So one thing that you can do is to definitely ask the person instead of saying, oh, I'm so scared, I don't know, right? You can just ask the person, can you rephrase that question?
Okay.
And let's say they rephrase it once, you still don't understand it, then can you rephrase it the second time? Or you tell them how you understood it, right? And if it's not correct, they will automatically rephrase it. Or you can even do this thing. You can I have another question, please? And so that's one tip. Now, another tip. Now, how do you answer something that you must absolutely answer and yet you have no answer to?
By saying random things on my mind.
That's one way for you to practice, yes, to do on your own, in front of your parents or in front of your friends.
To say the first thing that comes to mind?
You can, that's one thing. But also you can connect everything back to what you already know. So for example, in this situation, I asked you about resources, right? You know a lot about money. You know money buys happiness, right? And what are some of the examples of happiness that money buys? What? Cool dinners, awesome vacation, right?
Yeah.
Expensive education. What else can you buy? Jewelry. What else can you buy? Experiences, right? Housing, for example. Give your family members an opportunity to do something. So all those things you already know, correct?
Yeah.
And so revert back to everything you already know and just use, instead of using the term money, use the term resources or something. And then, as you talk, just try to link it to other matters related to resources. So that's one way. So ask me a crazy question.
I don't know if this is crazy enough.
Crazy so that I can't answer.
If a zombie and a vampire were fighting each other, would the zombie turn into the vampire or the vampire turn into the zombie?
Okay. Well, thank you for your question. Can you rephrase that question, please?
Okay, so if a zombie were in a fight with a vampire and they bit each other, would the vampire have a crave for brain and blood at the same time? Or would the zombies turn into vampires and only wants to suck others' blood instead of eating humans' brains?
Okay, that's a very difficult question. See, I would not have an answer to that, but okay, I'm going to revert back to what I already know, right? Okay, so you talked something about biting, fighting, right?
Yeah.
What do I know? For example, one thing that I know is, let's say, do you know history? Do you like history? Not really. Okay, let's not talk about history. Do you like? Do you have siblings?
Like films.
Oh, okay, that's a good one. Do you have siblings?
Yes.
Okay, brother, sister?
Brothers.
Okay, brothers, right? Okay, so assuming I know nothing about Dracula, vampires, nothing about zombies, right? These two beings can fight with each other.
Yes.
You know, and when I think about two beings fighting, I think about the situations in which I fight with my brother. The vampire trying to eat meat and the zombie trying to eat brain and suck blood is, in a way, sometimes similar to how I fight with my brother. Sometimes I want to tear his hair away from his head. You know, I want to, let's say, steal his iPad. And within that process of fighting, do I become my brother or does my brother become me? The answer is we both are our own individuals even after the fight. So I think the zombie is still the zombie and the vampire is still the vampire. See? That's how you relate it to things you already know if you do not have an answer.
Okay, thank you so much for your advice.
That's a really great tip. Super, super great tip.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you
so-
so much.
Good job, good job.
Yeah.
We enjoyed your presence here today.
So you're already a contestant of Voice of the Week, and we're gonna have a prize for the winner of Voice of the Year. That is a 2-week summer camp to the UK.
Wow.
So let's check it out a little bit with this video clip. Thank you so much, Pengapling, for joining us. And please, guys, if you like her and like her presentation, please vote for her to become the winner of Voice of the Year. And a little bit recap on the topics today, Miss Phoebe.
Oh yes, explore everybody's cultures, whether they live in your country, whether they're from another country, whether they have the same religion as you or different religion, or they enjoy really weird things that you don't want to appreciate, but have an open conversation and explore the things that you don't know.
That's it for the intercultural, multicultural environment education. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.